Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I am loving the close range meta options that we've got right now in Warzone Season 4. There are a lot of super fun and also super competitive options between a bunch of different weapon classes and also with various different, intentions. Whether you're going for pure movement builds, whether you're going for fast TTK, more of like a sniper support role, I got you guys covered with everything here in this one. Starting first with one of the best true fast TTK close range options, the BP-50 conversion kit. This thing as an SMG absolutely melts up close. It's going to be a little bit slower. It was slightly nerfed with Season 4, but its overall movement and its TTK can definitely hold their own in this current close range meta. So obviously, most important part of this setup is this Revenger kit, which completely changes how the weapon works and basically turns it into an SMG. I also go for the Trust grip tape. It's going to help out with some control here. Hurts your idle sway. However, in the ranges that we're fighting with this thing, that's not really a huge deal. I also go for the high grain ammo, extends that lethal damage range out to 14 meters with that fast TTK. That's very generous for a sub. We've got the Chimera laser on here for a faster ADS and sprint to fire. Then I also go for the ZEM35 compensator, better control, minimal cons to your ADS and your velocity. So this thing still is frying up close. Keep in mind though, that's about all you could run on this thing, sub an optic, because putting on this conversion kit kills all your other attachments to the point where you can't even use them. Barrels, under barrels, so on and so forth. Not even an option, so you're pretty limited, but this gets the job done. Now, for more of a sniper support route here, it still works in the close range, but I think it really thrives as sniper support. The MCW conversion kit, this thing is low recoil, pretty aggressive for an AR SMG hybrid style gun, and its TTK speaks for itself. It's clearly one of, if not the single best sniper support option that we've got in the game here. So again, most important part of the setup is the Jack Raven kit that turns it into this sort of SMG AR hybrid. With this, you are limited to only a 40 round extended mag, which is one of the drawbacks of this thing. You can get the job done with it, but it's definitely not a 50 or a 60, which would be much more ideal. Can't deny that. We got the reflector sight on here. Use whatever optic you're the most comfortable with. NIDAR, slate, glassless, whatever the case is there. They're all good choices. It's just a matter of preference, honestly. DR6 hand stop keeps things snappy and aggressive with movement, strafe, ADS, sprint to fire, so you can still run and gun with this thing. Then also Spirit Fire Suppressor extends out that range, ups that velo some, gives you a tad bit better control as well. So this thing is still rocking here. Really hasn't changed all that much in the recent seasons, which is good because if you love it, you can still fry with it. Now the FJX Horus is one of the new weapons that's really gotten the biggest bump up with some of the buffs that it's seen recently. It went from being a very mid SMG to one of the top, options in the entire category and really in the entire game for close range. It has insane movement and now one of the fastest TTKs in its first damage range. So here, this setup is built a little bit more around control and whatnot, still keeping it accurate while we can fly and fry. So ZEM35 compensator, again, for the better control, minimal cons to your movement and your velo. I've been liking the Sin 9 long barrel on here, helps out with that range, so 11 meters for that super fast TTK. Good velo, a little bit of control there too. It's not gonna kill your movement outside of your strafe, which is not a huge deal, all things considered, because it's still very fast regardless. I also go for DR6 hand stop, get some of that movement back, helps out with the general movement, ADS, your overall sprint to fire as well. 48 round extended mag, and then I personally find myself to be a lot more accurate with an optic here. So slate, NIDAR, again, the ELO sight, whatever you're the most comfortable with here, feel free to go ahead and run that. But I definitely found to be more accurate, more lethal using an optic as opposed to the irons with maybe high grain or a stock or something like that. But you can definitely mess around and see what works well for you. The Wasp 9 is still kicking here in Season 4 too. It got a slight nerf, but overall its range is still phenomenal for an SMG. Low recoil, very dependable, and of course it's got a quick TTK, which is the most important at the end of the day. Here again, not a huge fan of the irons, so I'm going for the reflector sight. 50 round extended mag works just fine with this fire rate. You're not going to have to worry about running out of ammo too quickly or anything like that. High grain ammo, extending that lethal damage range out to nearly 18 meters. That's so ridiculously good for an SMG and kind of speaks for why this thing is up towards the top of the meta. We've got DR6 hand stop here as well, and surprise surprise, the ZEM35 compensator once more too. Quick reminder, as we are going through all the setups here today, if you guys want to guarantee that every single day you're up to date with news, patch notes, meta breakdowns, basically everything going on in COD, this is your one-stop shop for that. So feel free to hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video or if you find it helpful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. As always, much love to everyone who takes the time to do so. Next up, the base striker. This thing is one of the best SMGs in the game as well. It's dependable in terms of its recoil. It's very straightforward and easy to use. Also has a really good TTK and really good range for an SMG as well. So initially here for the compensator, you can kind of go back and forth. Zem 35 is very good if you just want a straight up really accurate option, and it's never a bad choice for subs. Although the Requitor suppressor is really good too. It helps out with your ADS speed some, also gives you some better firing aim stability, and it keeps you off the map. So if you really care about that, that's a viable choice for sure. Recon long barrel here extends that range and that velocity a little bit more so than what we'd get out of just simply high grain without hurting the control, of course. DR6 hand stop yet again. 60 round extended mag, plenty of ammo for this fire rate. Then I like the light stock on here for a little bit better movement speed. Recon series is also pretty good for control, and it has minimal movement cons. So if you're looking for something maybe a little bit more accurate, that'd be a viable choice too. But this thing can be built in a lot of different ways, and really regardless of how you do it, it's going to be good because the base striker at its core is just a phenomenal SMG. We also got to talk about the new Superi 46. This might be one of my new favorite guns in the entire game. It just feels so good. Kind of reminds me of the Blixen from Warzone 1 and from Vanguard. Pretty low recoil, great iron sights, and phenomenal movement in TTK as well. So again, surprise, we've got the Zem 35 compensator, although here I have switched it up. Edge BW4 is always a solid alternative to DR6. It's got good strafe, decent ADS and sprint to fire, some good general movement too, and no real super harsh cons on here. So that's a great choice if you ever want to rotate DR6 out. I also go for high grain ammo, better range, better velocity, so it's got a great hit scan range and a really good, effective damage range for that fastest TTK. 40 round extended mag gets the job done. It's not incredible, but it is what it is. Then also Rescue 9 stock, really good general movement and good control, so nice little 2-for-1 there that I definitely like the feel of for sure. So this thing is a blast, and it's super effective. Now, a couple more sniper support options actually stem from MW2, which is always fun to see. The Chimera got some buffs with season 4, so in all reality, this thing is better than ever right now, which is definitely very fun. So bit of a different setup. I've adjusted this lately. I've realized I like the irons here more than I initially thought, so I've kind of changed the build around to focus more on that. I am using the 45 round extended mag. Obviously, this will work fine for any kind of squad mode you've got. High grain rounds on here to extend out that range and then that velocity. That velo is not great for sniper support, so if we can up that, you definitely want to do so. I don't think the recoil on this thing is all that bad either, and you get a really good range out of that. Edge BW4 hand stop purely for some movement. If you do want a little bit more control though, you could throw on the angled underbarrel, and that'll help out with some of that horizontal there. So that'd be a viable option too, with very minimal cons across the board. Vorpal barrel will help out some with that range and a little bit of control, and then a little bit of movement speed as well. So a lot of nice pros mixed in there. Then Cassus break again, just for the straight up control, making this thing accurate. Scratch 20 suppressor would be viable as well. If you're okay with a much slower ADS, Spirit Fire could be viable too for sniper support. So you can definitely mess around, see what feels nice for you in your gameplay and with your style there. But yeah, the Chimera is feeling really good right now. And then right alongside that, the M13C is surprisingly good as well. This thing's close range TTK is very competitive. So here, going for the reflector sight. Don't love the irons as much here when you start fighting at 20, 25, 30 meters. So I'm more accurate, and I'm more consistent when I do throw on an optic like this. 45 round extended mag, high grain rounds on here yet again. No enemy skulls because it's blackout, but then also better range, better velo. Angled underbarrel here, the movement's decent, and I do want to make sure I'm still accurate with this because I've also got the Scratch 20 suppressor, so no added control here, just better firing aim stability, which is still important, but obviously won't have as much of an impact on the physical pattern there, more so just the consistency, and then also keeps me off the map as well. So kind of some slept on sniper support options between the Chimera and this, but they're both surprisingly good and can certainly hold their own. Hey folks, briefly want to chat about my friends over at Gamer Advantage. Of course, GA is no stranger to the channel here. Every single face cam video, you guys see me rocking my Horizon frames. These things are game changers. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's no more important thing at my setup here, the computers, the monitors, the controllers, than these glasses, because these allow me to do what I do best day in and day out. If you're looking at screens for long periods of time, whether you're working, doing school, gaming, whatever it may be, you got to get yourself a pair of GA frames. They offer prescription and regular lenses. They've got a bunch of different colorways and frames, so a little bit of something for everyone there. And when it comes to sleeping better at night, reducing eye strain, these things are phenomenal. Best of all, if you want to throw in code Immortal at checkout, you end up getting yourself a nice little discount as well. The link for that will be down in the description below if you're interested. And then we got a couple more conversion kits that are really good for close range, like the Holger aftermarket part, which turns it into a close range beast, as we talked about recently. This thing's close range TTK is absolutely insane. Even compared to a lot of the other options on this list and in this video, it outguns the vast majority of them. So obviously we want to have that burnout kit on there to completely change how this weapon behaves. We've got the NATO high grain on there just for that better range, that better velocity. The velo is super overkill for close close range, but that better effective damage range, even though it's only 7 meters, that's better than having it as like 5.5 like it was before. So anything we can extend there is certainly worth it. Skeletal vertical grip for some better control, but also some better movement with our ADS and our Sprintifier, so we're still snappy and aggressive. Nidar scope, just because I'm way more accurate with this as opposed to the irons with this fire rate. Then I like the Ascent Lord stock as well, just for some added control to keep things relatively easy when you are spraying and praying with this thing, which does have a decent amount of noticeable recoil. But if you can land your shots, those enemies don't stand a chance. And then lastly, I was a little torn on whether or not to include the Lachmann Shroud aftermarket part here with the Jack Decimator that makes it full auto, because its TTK is really good. Just everything else about it isn't. Its movement is not very good, its control is not very good, so it's lacking in other areas. But from a pure TTK standpoint, this thing can actually hold its own pretty nicely. So we do got the Jack Decimator on here, the 40 round extended mag as opposed to 50, because I don't want this thing to be any slower than it already is, so 40 works well for me. Skeletal vertical grip helps out with some control, but then also the ADS and the Sprintifier yet again. Chimera laser sight for a better ADS and Sprintifier, and then I've been going for an optic on it, Nidar or glassless or slate, whatever the case may be. The stocks really aren't doing all that much, and if you use stockless, your control is absolutely awful. So you don't have a great selection of attachments. The barrels aren't all that great. You could use something like maybe a hollow point or something, but for the most part, you're somewhat limited, and this is the setup that I think is going to be the most consistent. Like I said, as long as you're landing shots, this thing is able to compete. It's just the others that are not super desirable when it comes to the stats here, but it's certainly a viable option. I did want to throw that in as sort of like an honorable mention, if you will. But that being said, that's how the close range meta plays out right now. If you enjoyed the video or if you found it helpful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out so you can always stay up to date with everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.